Okay, so like I said, I may end up recording how to actually release this app via the App Store and Play Store, although there's some sensitive data in there that I don't know if I can capture in a screencast, and it's a pain in the butt. So we'll see about that. But I didn't want to hold up the last part of the series. By the way, this whole process took about a day. So the funny thing is, this was a very simple application. We did it all in one React Native component, which is probably making a lot of people cringe out there, which is fine. But there's probably like 2 hours, maybe less, of actual coding that you see, and the rest I was pausing it and figuring something out. That should tell you that most of the work that developers, engineers do is not actually typing at the keyboard or like writing actual code. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of, okay, that didn't work. Let me go figure out how to fix this. If it were all just writing code, I think everyone would do this job. It's just fantastic when you could just sit down and bang out code. But a lot of it is like, crap, why didn't that work? It said it was going to work. It didn't work. Now I got to figure it out. So I just want you to know that the actual time was more like, I want to say that was probably like, say 6 hours of work and probably like an hour total of screencast time. So that's about right. Probably 5 to 1, maybe even in a lot of cases more research to actual coding. Anyway, like I said, after this is all done, we usually have a sprint, a post-mortem sprint, a retrospective sprint, where we kind of use the app and look at the app and decide, what needs to happen in the future. One thing, as I've been saying throughout the entire screencast, that definitely needs to happen is refactoring. We crammed everything into app.js, and that's not good. We could break this out into containers, components. There's no real need for navigators because there's only one screen per se. So I don't think we actually necessarily need navigators, but we could add navigators if we wanted like a toolbar and we're adding other functionality. There's definitely that. From a feature standpoint, I bet some of you were like screaming as you watched this. Well, what about this? What about that? Like I said, I've actually talked to a couple lawyers about this and got their feedback on it, and it was nothing that I kind of couldn't imagine myself. But this is kind of easy to game. You could easily grab someone's phone and open the app before it locked and give your app consent. It doesn't ask for a password or anything. So one thing that we could do, and I'm not sure about the best tact, kind of have to think about this, is when each user opens the application, it could ask them for their thumbprint or their device PIN in order just to open the app. That's one way to do it. The other way would be when the person hits grant consent, it asks them for their fingerprint or their PIN or whatever. I think personally that it should be when you open the app. Both the requester and the grantor need to verify that they know at least how to get into the device. That's one way to make this a little bit more official. The other way, as was pointed out to me, is the grantor, the person who's granting consent, could be inebriated. So one thing, when the person goes and hits grant consent, it could give them a little, what's the word for it? Capability test, to verify that they're of sound mind, kind of thing, before they can actually grant consent. So those are two big features that were immediately kind of like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to have. I don't think those are necessary to have, especially to prove the concept, but those are two things that would, I'm sure, quickly get added to the development stack. Also, we did a bare bones design. We don't have any logos. We don't have any splash screens. We don't have any graphics at all. We have a very black and white app, which is actually, I think, it fits this type of app very, very well, as it's not meant to be a cutesy app. It's a very functional app. But in order to get it approved in the App Store, you need to have things like a loading screen, aka a splash screen, and app icons and things like that. So we'll need to go back and do that. And that's kind of it. I'm sure you guys have ideas, and I would love to hear them. But kind of this is the app as it sits that I'm prepared to submit to the contest. I may go back and add those two other features that I just talked about if I have time. But as it sits today, this is kind of what I'm going to submit.